Hello everybody and welcome to this week's edition of a late night screen review. This time we're talking about The Nun 2. Whoa.
There's something wrong with the school. Something doesn't feel right.
Sophie, what happened?
I think there's something here that's not meant to be.
This thing, it's come back for me.
This demon was once an angel. Rejected by God. Stripped of power.
It wants that power back.
So this week we're talking about The Nun 2, folks, and as usual we went to the local Cineworld down in Loughborough, my local Cineplex, to enjoy a late night screening of The Nun 2. So here's the thing, and I'm probably going to get flayed alive for this, but I actually can't really remember what happened in Nun 1. So here's the thing, I was never really a massive fan of The Nun. I watched it when it first came out way back when, and I haven't ever kind of revisited it, and I kind of forgot what happened in the film. I guess I wasn't paying attention enough. I don't know. So anyway, when The Nun 2 came out, again, I wasn't really that interested, wasn't really that engaged with it. I know that The Nun, as a kind of horror icon, has become, a big deal. And just like with The Terrifier, another series I haven't seen. What? These are two kind of like brand new horror characters that have broken out and are really successful. So I didn't really look much into Nun 2. I wanted to be fully surprised when I went in. And I guess I was. So what's the story about? So very simply then, the story is that the nun was defeated way back when in the first movie, and it has returned, and it's killing priests and other religious people in their in their cathedrals and their churches and things like that, and it's kind of moving around. There's a pattern forming, and the Vatican send Sister Irene, the demon slayer from the last film, back in to do battle with the monster that she once faced, and that's the story. So what did I think? In terms of what I thought of the film, well, here's the thing. I find The Nun 2 to be a film of contradictions. On one hand, there are the main actress playing Sister Irene, Taissa Farmiga, plays a great performance, really engaging, character, very charismatic, lovely, loved it, brilliant. There's a side story as well as her hunting the demon again. There's a side story with a boarding school and a teacher. Teacher has a daughter that's going to the school who's being bullied, and then there's the groundskeeper that kind of keeps his eye out for the girl. All those three wonderful performances, really engaging. You believe in them, you follow their story. Brilliant. You've got this, the main story is this kind of almost like warrior nun going back into the fray to fight that demon, and that's kind of cool. The film reminds me of, Sister Act meets Indiana Jones meets the new It films. If you combine those three things together, you get The Nun 2. Which, I don't know, might sound cool to some of you out there. But to me, it was kind of almost confusing, almost like worryingly confusing, because you have this movie that kind of takes itself very seriously, a la Blumhouse, kind of set in the real world. It's a horror movie, scary. And yet, weirdly, it's less scary and becomes more of like an adventure, almost Da Vinci Code, jet-setting around the world kind of a movie, almost, again, a la Indiana Jones. So the scares aren't really there. And also the nun, as a character, is barely in this movie. This time around, the filmmakers decided to go with a bit more of a possession-type story. So you actually see very little of the nun themselves. So the kind of horror of the film is very sparse, and the rest of the time it's more like a kind of mystery movie. And then again lies the contradiction, because on one hand it tries to take itself incredibly seriously, like a serious horror flick, and on the other hand you've got this kind of small tiny nun who's previously dealt with this demon, has now been sent in by the Vatican to do business, to fight another fight with this demon. And that concept, to me, just strikes it as just being very silly, but in a good way, like fun, silly, you know, haha, almost like an Evil Dead kind of thing. Like, and you might think there'd be a bit more humour about the movie, or a bit of a nudge or a wink to the audience, like, hey, you're going to enjoy this is going to be fun. And none of that exists. So again, a weird kind of parallel, a weird dynamic there behind the two kind of themes of the movie that never quite get there. It never quite gets there for me. I honestly feel like it's a massive shame with The Nun 2, because, as I say, I like the main character, the nun. I like the fact that she's going back into the fray and she's going to battle the demon again, and she shows this kind of courage and charisma and all these good things. I like the side story with the teacher, the teacher's daughter, and the groundskeeper, and you know, will they, won't they? And they kind of like each other, and the daughter likes them, and she's being bullied, and it's nice and it's believable, and again realistic, set in a kind of very real world setting. But then you've got this tiny nun woman going against this demon, getting battered around all over the place and just getting straight back up again like nothing's ever happened. I feel like this film suffers from not having another couple of rewrites. I feel like if they could have just picked a lane with this film, it's either going to be a serious scary movie and we're going to go this route and very realistic, or we're going to have a bit of fun and it's going to be a bit more of an adventure movie and going to be a bit like an Evil Dead, Army of Darkness kind of movie. That'd be cool. But it doesn't do either of those two things. It's in this weird middle ground. So it's very confusing. As I say, some great things in there. Actors are great, casting's fantastic, the film looks good. There's some real fun characterizational moments between all the main players, which is interesting to watch. But the themes of the film are really confusing. The pacing's a bit off. And the film just feels like it doesn't really know what it's trying to be and what it's trying to do. It feels like it was trying to maybe take the film in a new direction, again with the possession element, but it didn't really know what it was kind of doing with itself. And it's a massive shame for me. So I can't say this is a recommend. I can't say it's a high recommend. But I will say there is enough here to kind of entertain you. You've just got to have a lot of patience. So this is a low recommend for me on this one. Again, I'd like to see a Nun 3. I'd like to see that character given a bit more respect and a bit more time on the screen. I'd like to see a bit more of the kind of battle between the two. Maybe make it a bit more fun. Who knows? But yeah, for me, it's interesting, but not very coherent, and I think it just needed a couple more goes around it in the kind of writer's room. But it is what it is. It's a low recommend from me. If you're a hardcore horror fan, if you're a massive fan of the first film, I guess go see the movie. There are some really entertaining things about this movie, but for me, the kind of horror isn't quite there. There's no imagination with like the gore sequences or the kill sequences. None of that's really there. And then it kind of lets itself down towards the end. But who knows? You know, Nun 3, it might be a whole new story, and I might even go back and revisit the Nun 1. But until then, guys, until next time, that's it from me. Until I see you again, stay safe, stay scared, and we'll speak to you soon. Bye.